Hi y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to a review y'all probably, maybe, possibly thought that I wouldn't do because the products are kind of not my typical normal aesthetic. But as a lot of y'all may know, your girl has actually been on somewhat of a neutral kick, as we can see via the complexion today. And so, Natasha Denona decided that she was going to drop a new bronze collection, which included a eyeshadow palette in her $65 format, as well as a face palette in her 4 compact, which y'all know I have all the 3 and now all the 4 that are released and available. There were also some lip glosses, I want to say, but I ain't about paying high-end prices for lip glosses when I've got low-end ones that I don't even use. So obviously today we are reviewing the Natasha Denona bronze palette, as well as the Natasha Denona Bronze Cheek Face Glow palette. I am wearing both of these products on my fantabulously, gorgeously neutral complexion today. And I will admit, part of the reason that I was kind of like wanting to get this, I'm pretty sure my makeup rotation will be up by the time before this video is up. And in that rotation, I had pulled out her Love palette and her Sunset palette, which is the same size as this, and I have been loving the shiz out of those. In June, I used in June, I used the ever-loving shiz out of those, so I was really riding on that high of really enjoying her formula, and this dropped. And although it doesn't have the best, probably not a good at all, matte to shimmer ratio, it also smacks kind of, you know, Anastasia Beverly Hills soft glam sort of situation. Now, today I've worn this a couple different times. Y'all would have seen I did one look and then I ended up going out and about and I ended up not filming using that look. So today I actually went into deep dive right here, and I will say the mattes do tend to go on a little bit darker than you're gonna get just a titchy bit darker and deeper than the color you're seeing in the pan, which I'm personally okay with. But I started off with deep dive, then I went into suntan right here, then we deepened that shiz up with magma, and I used Bliss, which is this beautiful, you ain't gonna see it because my camera ain't HD, but it's this beautiful, like, reddy rosy with like greeny goldy metallic flecks all up in it. It's all kinds of pretty. Then obviously I'm wearing the face palette as well. I am wearing the blush and glow all up on my beautiful sort of sunburnt whatever sort of cheekies, and then I took the Bounce Cream Glow. Oh, it's a bounce. That's why the texture is different. I was futzing with this while I was using it, and I'm like, this doesn't seem like her regular, typical, whatever highlighter cream formula. So that's why. But I have that all up on the high points of my cheekies, the tip of my glorious nose. I am unsure if this shiz is limited edition. I don't think it is. The palette is gonna run you $65. I did make a comment in my makeup rotation that at that price point, I would recommend the Natasha Denona palettes of this size more than, say, Huda Beauty. They're the same price point, but I think the Natasha Denona ones are just a little bit better. And the face palette is $48, and y'all know that the other 3 that I have, I absolutely love, highly recommend, one of the only cream formulas that I actually enjoy using. But enough of all that sort of situation, let's get into swatching these babies, and then we'll talk about my ideas and my whatevers on the palette on a whole. So we're gonna start right here. We're gonna start with, why don't we actually start with the real way? We're gonna start with True Copper, which, as the name would suggest, that shiz is a true copper. And Saturn Suntan. I do really, really love the formulation of her mattes in these size palettes. They're very smooth, very buttery, very pigmented, and they blend beautifully. Then Sundown, which is this pretty kind of like neutral, sorry, Sundown. No, that is Sundown. I have no idea. Apparently I'm losing my mind, but it's this really pretty, like kind of like orangey mustardy color, but not being like a true mustard. So let's go on here. I mean, do you see the shimmy, shine, shine? You know your girl is typically a matte person, but when I want a shimmer, I want it to look like that. And we have the first two mattes going on right here, just like that. Next up is Deep Dive, which is the same formula as that purple in the Love palette, where it's not a matte, not a satin, not a shimmer. It's just like this big old thing of heckin' pigment. I find the best way to use this shade is to use a stiffer brush and to pack it on and then do a lighter blending out on the edges. Next is Rhodium, which is this beautiful browny, purpley gray sort of shimmer. And then Magma, which is a beautiful earthy red-based brown. All right, and we have them. Like, that is so pretty. I love that on the lower lash line. It is so pigmented and poppin'. There we have that one, and then this one right here. Even more shimmers. We've got High Degree right here, looking like that. Alloy, which is a beautiful, this is such a pretty bronzy gold. Then Ridge right here, which is kind of like a, once again, it's kind of skewering. It's kind of skewing in that mustardy sort of range, which y'all know that I love. So here we have, look at that. And then this one right here. Oh, it's so pretty. Then True Bronze here, which once again, I love the formula. There's something about this True Bronze and this True Copper that is just absolutely stunning formula-wise. Then Glowing. It's like roaming, but with a G-L instead of an R. I don't have the best vocabulary, so maybe I'm missing something. And then Palladium right here, which is a just really pretty brown shade. And then Bliss, which is your girl's personal favorite. I absolutely love that shade so much. Like right there. It is so pretty and rosy. I actually want to take this one. Like, it's shimmery, but it's not like a chunky shimmer, so I don't think it's going to have too much crease. I think this just all over the lid for kind of like a one and done look. You highlight the inner corner, you do some liner, and you are good to go. I think that would be absolutely beautiful. Then last but not least is Silk, which, as the name would suggest, once again, Silk, True Bronze, and True Copper feel so smooth to the touch. They are just, I mean, they're like silk. They're like metallic butter in a pan form. And then Beach, which is, I guess, supposed to be like the transition shade. I am so glad she did not decide to do, oh, let me do like a super pasty satin shade, because y'all know how I feel about that shiz. Here we have them right here. I mean, look. Look at that. I mean, even if you're not a neutral lover, how can you look at these shimmers and not think they're absolutely stunning? And then the last matte right there. So behold, the swatches of the bronze palette. And for someone who is not a neutral person, dare I say that these swatches are marvelous, glorious, might I even go so far to say. I mean, this is like swatch game to the thousands. It is so pretty. I love, like, I don't think there's a shade in this palette that I don't think is absolutely beautiful. And that is saying something for someone who is a matte lover. For someone who is typically a crazier color lover, these are just so beautiful. I've already used a couple of these shimmers. I mean, this one, and that one. I've already used them with other palettes because they are just so blinking poppin'. Absolutely love this shade right here. I've used this actually with the Jeffree Star Cremated palette. I love this shade. I've used that with the Jeffree Star Cremated palette as well. Just so blinking pretty. All right, now let's talk about the face palette. Now this you would look at and you'd be like, girl, that shiz ain't for you, except for like this shade here. And I thought that this shade was gonna be like a highlighter type situation, but when I swatched that shiz, I was like, I cannot wait. Y'all would have seen me on Snapchat swatch that. I cannot wait to put this shiz all up on my cheeks. It's like got a slight sheen to it when you swatch it and when you look at it, but then when you put it on your face, it's more of just like a healthy radiance rather than it is like a metallic or a super high shine blush. Now I will admit, the one shade that's like obviously intended for my pastiness, I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't think I like this Bounce Cream Glow situation she's got up in here because like, I don't know if you can, no you can't. One of these days I'll have a high def whateverness, but not right now. But it's like, you know, it's very much bouncy, so it's like that putty texture, so I'm not entirely sure how I'm supposed to use that. It looks kind of pretty when you swatch it, but it's kind of more faint. It takes a lot of work to make it work. I didn't like applying it with my finger. I tried it with a couple different brushes. That didn't work so well. I haven't tried it with a sponge yet, so maybe that's the avenue I need to go. But out of all the shades, that one is the most like, all right, you know, it doesn't really make the palette, but this is Bounce Cream too, Bounce Cream Blush. But I used that one with a brush and it was absolutely perfect. I don't know, something is whatever, but let me swatch. This one is so pretty. It is just this beautiful, perfect. Swatches are not doing that shiz justice. It is this perfect, healthy, radiant bronze, but not bronze, kind of sun-kissed, sunburnt sort of look. I absolutely love it. And it worked really well with my Real Techniques multitask brush, which is my end-all be-all blush brush. Just looks so healthy and illuminating. Natasha Denona's face products, especially, I just dug my nail into that. Well, I already got pictures for Instagram, which is good because I just dug my nail into the Super Glow Nude. But her face products and her cream face products are just so complexion enhancing. They give you this smooth, glass-like, healthy glow that's really just like your skin, but better. You look healthy and radiant and glowy and goddess-like. And this thing right here is no exception. Then we have the Super Glow Bronze, which is obviously not for me. I mean, let's just be real. I have used this as a blush topper though, and it works well for that, so I don't count out the shade. And then the Super Glow Nude, which I have also used as a blush topper. So I don't, and it's definitely a lot more subtle, a lot less like, it's not gonna look very stark on your face if you're using it as a highlighter. It's the product is trying to pop out of the pan. Don't you dare. I literally had one corner of this shiz, not the pan, but the product popping out of the, don't you freaking dare. But it's gonna be more of a softer sort of strobing situation rather than just a straight up cha-cha-cha-cha highlighter. If that makes any sort of sense, I certainly hope it does. All right, so let's start with the eyeshadow palette, which, surprise, surprise, I am actually going to give it a solid 10 out of 10, which is, I mean, y'all know your girl is a matte lover. Mattes build the backbone of a good palette, in my opinion. But this palette is just so beautiful, so gorgeously formulated. It is just the perfect bronzy, glowy, shimmery goddess palette. And honestly, having this palette in here with these shimmers, come my next palette declutter, I can actually think of some that I would declutter in favor of keeping this, because so many of these shimmers are just, the formula is so beautiful. They are shimmery, they are opaque, they're not chunky, they're not flaky, they're easy to work with, they're smooth. I mean, silk, true copper, and true bronze are like what shimmer formula dreams are made of. You could not get a better shimmer formula than those three shades. I absolutely love Rhodium right here. Y'all know I love Bliss. There isn't a shade. They're all, the majority of this thing is shimmers, and there isn't a shade in here that I don't love and I don't think is absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, y'all know that is saying a lot for me. I think if you've been eyeing this palette, and if you're all good with like the matte to shimmer ratio, I know I posted this on Twitter and asked y'all's opinion, and a couple of y'all were like, yeah, it's repetitive, I'm not loving the matte to shimmer ratio, you know, it's kind of whatever quality wise. And I honestly think, yeah, it's a little basic, it's a little whatever. It's not like we haven't seen this shiz before. We all have neutrals from countless different brands, but this is a really good one. If you are wanting to invest in a nice neutral palette that is heavy on the shimmer side, the formula and the layout and the collection of shades in here is just, I was not disappointed at all. In fact, I was like 110% surprised. Like, I didn't go in thinking, oh, I'm gonna hate this shiz, but at the same time, I went in with the, oh, well, it's mostly shimmers, how good can it be? It's fan-tucking-fastic is what it is. Just so pretty. I've just been reaching for these shimmers, the mattes that they do provide. Absolutely stunning, smooth, pigmented, blendable, buttery, absolutely amazing. In all honesty, not a bad thing to say about the eyeshadow palette at all. And I don't really have a bad thing really to say about this, except for the fact that that one shade, I swear to high heaven, if you decide to go all whatever on me, there will be, You know, I don't have anything like really too bad to say about it because I have been enjoying it. I've been loving all these three shades in conjunction with peachy blushes, with nude blushes, you know, using them in conjunction with each other. I'll have this as my base and I'll go over with this or over with this. I've used both of these with different blushes. So these three right here, I really, really love. I'm not a big fan of this thing right here. I don't know if it's the formula or what. It didn't pick up well. It wasn't giving me even that kind of like dewy, healthy glow that her palettes typically give. It just wasn't really as good, I feel. And I know it is a newer formula, so maybe we haven't worked all the kinks out in it yet, but I just find it a little funny that out of this whole palette, the one shade that's obviously clearly supposed to be working the best for my pastiness is the one that I like the least. I absolutely adore this. This is a beautiful sort of, like I said, you know, instead of using this highlighter, typically what I do when I use this palette is I just kind of like bring that highlighty glowiness with the other shades up sort of towards the tops of my cheeks to kind of give the kind of gradual radiance rather than just a straight up lighter highlighter. And I have been really loving what it does to my complexion. Her face palettes are just such beautiful, good formulas. This also works really well in conjunction with her tan bronze or just her tan palette. I have all of her face palettes currently in a rotation because I want to use them some more, but you know, take into consideration, I would definitely go in and swatch this sort of thing because you know, I mean, loving the 3 out of the 4. It's not awful, but, you know, I've been enjoying the 3 very much. But obviously, take that into consideration because these are not cheap. So there is that, which was kind of a letdown, but I have been loving the other 3 shades in this palette. So, in all honesty, I am just a wee bit surprised because obviously, you all know I have, excuse me, y'all know I adore her face palettes. Like, that is my shiz. So to go into this and end up loving the eyeshadow palette more than the face palette, that's a little bit surprising. But that, if you love shimmers and you love those colors, definitely get that. It is so pretty and just so nicely formulated. You know, color story aside, y'all know your girl goes off on a good formula. And those formulas were just so beautiful. Shimmer dreams. Obviously, I would love to hear what y'all have to say about this. And if you know how to use that like lighter highlighter shade in the face palette, let me know. Maybe it's kind of like, it doesn't feel like ColourPop to me. It feels more like the Stila Heaven's Hue highlighters, which I never, excuse me, burp squad, which I kind of never really completely got on into. You know, I don't mind that shade kind of being whatever, since the other shades are just, those shades, those other 3 shades make up, I feel, for the lacklusterness of that one because they're just so stinking beautiful. But if you have any sort of tips or tricks, definitely let me know because, you know, I have it. I want to use it and it's pretty. It's just a little faint and a little lackluster and a little difficult to work with, in my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, but thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!